we have problem with the fear of crime, and that often by itself cause persons to feel intimidated, if you will, to even provide information to us sometimes. That poses a challenge. We also have to be treating with the quote-unquote inform of the dead culture. And that again poses a challenge with regards to prosecuting criminals. Oftentimes, a crime is committed and everyone is on board in terms of providing information, providing statements. But when it gets cold, when the matter is now in front of the court, there is a fear factor that oftentimes comes in. And as a result of that, people become reluctant in going through, if you will. And we have to be frank, there's also the issue where persons are somehow reluctant to give information to the police because of a trust factor as well. There is the notion of corruption as well. So these variables makes it a little bit more difficult, if you will, to really police in the best effective way the environment in which we operate in. And again, there are times, and I'm happy that the Facebook is up and running and it is doing well, at times the ease at which information should be provided to the police also pose a challenge. There are oftentimes people want to provide information, want to be anonymous, of course, but the medium through which that can be provided is not there. And based on what I'm picking up, what we'll be doing here this afternoon is somehow will add value for the ease at which information can be provided to the police by persons who will know, will see, will hear, and at the end of the day, making our community a little bit more safer. So let me acknowledge, ladies and gentlemen, that we are no doubt in a criminogenic society, no doubt about that. And crime, as you know, single-handedly is not the police role often by itself. We have to ensure that the community in which we operate is safe, yes, but when it comes on to crime and violence, it is what I refer to as a nationalistic approach that has to be taken. Everyone has a role, everyone has a responsibility, and you might realize that a community that works hand in hand with the police always is a safer community.
When you do your investigations, you recognize that these are spin-offs from the communities they come from, and that they are being endorsed by adults from the communities. And it has gotten to a stage where the names of gangs are being sewn into the shirts that they wear at school, their sweaters and so on that they wear over their uniform at school. So we look for these and we call them signs of crime. Because once you start labeling yourself a gangster, it's gonna get to another level, which means that there's much work to be done, not just with the police, but other entities which must come in and give us the necessary assistance. Now, when they come out into the public space, that's a public order issue, because they loiter, they go to adult places, amusement centers, and to top it all off, I'm now understanding that many of these minors are being sold alcohol, especially in the mornings. So they actually go to school with the alcoholic beverage. And this is more work for us, but it is something that we have to tackle head on. And since our youth are those, philosophically, are the men and women of tomorrow, we have to work hard at keeping them in shape and working towards that third city status, Mr. President. What I have also seen occurring is the occasional targeting of Chinese nationals, especially those, though, who operate the supermarkets and the wholesales. I have had 3 incidents since December. I have to pay attention to that. We cannot allow that to get away from us. one of the 3 incidents, a firearm was robbed. And fortunately for us, we have recovered that firearm and arrested 2 of 3 men who were involved in that robbery. They are easy targets and very vulnerable. And it means that it is one of the things that the chamber will have to look at in terms of assisting the police in protecting investors in the parish, or Chinese investors. It requires more work other than the basic police work of patrolling their place and so on. It requires far more work than that. And when we knock heads together, I'm sure that we can put something together to assist those persons who are far more vulnerable than others. What I am going to encourage our business owners to do as a way of helping the objective of the chamber is to come together in groups such as business watches. I find that it is very difficult to get entrepreneurs and merchants into these types of groups. I've tried it elsewhere, and the only place that I've had it work perfectly was in Portland, a smaller parish. But if we can get all our business leaders into groups such as business watches, it will help us. And I'm going to tell you why quickly. I'll just make reference to neighborhood watches. I mentioned last year that communities that have established functioning neighborhood watches did not realize a murder, and their crime stats are way lower than communities that do not benefit from neighborhood watches and citizens association. And therefore, the idea of business watches must be a good one. And it is certainly not a novel idea, as I've mentioned before, but it's difficult getting our business leaders together. And my final point, ladies and gentlemen, is that the fact that we have the security measures taking place in 2 other parishes, divisions, Manchester is affected. We do have people coming to Manchester from time to time. And we do have people who harbor them here. But I must also hasten to say that we do have residents who call us when they make the observations. And that's important to keeping the parish safe. So yesterday, as an example, a wanted man was picked up in the town center of Mandeville. He's one of those wanted in that double murder that took place earlier this year. I think it took place on January 2 up in Red Hills, where a female was killed close to her gate and the taxi driver was also murdered. And the husband was subsequently arrested and taken into custody. I'm just trying to drag your memory as to that particular incident. All right? So the incident took place out of 4 men on 2 motorcycles, driving up behind the car on either side of the car, and both pillions getting off both motorcycles, one taking the driver, shooting him to death, and the other one shooting the female to death on the other side of the car. So one was picked up here yesterday in this parish. That is not news to us as police officers. They come here from time to time to hide away from places like those. I've mentioned that before. I am going to encourage you then to stay alert and to pay attention to what is going on around you. I hope in my little talk I did not frighten anyone, because I want you to understand that we are doing what we ought to do, and we are on top of our game in the parish. Thank you.